And welcome to Behind the Curtain on Politics NY with Skye. And right now I'm with Warren Cohn, who is from Herald PR. He does his own PR and crisis communications consulting. He's in multiple cities, but it all originated here in New York, where he comes from a political family. So let's get Warren's take on everything that's happening in the news cycle today. How you doing, Warren?
I'm good. Do we have time to get through everything in the news cycle? No, I'm doing all right. Thank you for having me.
No, of course. So let's dive into on the political spectrum. Now we have this whole situation with Governor Cuomo from a crisis perspective. What would you advise?
Well, from a crisis and strategic communications perspective, we always tell our clients that we like to, and when you're being fire hosed in the face, we like to shut that hose off and then start the process of mopping it all up and cleaning it up. So, given, the circumstances, everyone was patiently waited. The investigation and the attorney general, it couldn't have been clearer. And with all the pressure from, the New York delegation, the New York congressional delegation and other, folks, I think that if he was our client, we would advise him to resign and to step back. There's more to life than, retaining the power and sticking around, you have to be able to see the next chapter and look at things, from a different perspective. And I think walking away right now would be a good move for the governor. He's done amazing things for the state, amazing infrastructure projects. Certainly a controversial figure to some, but I think there's a lot to be proud of, and it's a good time, to part ways with the executive chamber.
Now, does he walk away with any allies?
I think look, not specifically Andrew, but I think with many elected officials that have been caught up in scandals or issues like this, I think. When you walk away with allies. If you, just, entrench yourself and dig your heels in and don't walk away, that's when you really start to lose your allies and friends, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now on a greater New York perspective, I know that you're currently in Florida because your business is in multiple cities, but coming from New York, where now there's a mask mandate, and Florida was known to be the free state. So what are you seeing in New York versus Florida when it comes to the masks?
Well, I just got back from New York, and I think that New York has always taken the pandemic seriously as far as the mandates. And it was funny, a couple of weeks ago in Florida, it was definitely the freer state and it was looser, and there's certainly no mandates here. And there is a dichotomy, seeing, one versus the other, and, having just, moved here and, coming directly from New York. But since the Delta variant has really taken over the news cycle, and we're seeing higher hospitalization rates, in Florida being the epicenter, I was surprised yesterday when, doing our, Costco run, that many people have self-mandated to put masks on. But it is interesting to see, a state where there's mandates and it's like kind of like the nanny or babysitter, like you have to do this, versus a state where, there's, it's more free to, to do self-care and figure out, what's best for you. But I think that, we're seeing in Florida now that people are, masking up, and, local municipalities and towns are requiring more masks or vaccinations. So we're seeing that on a more local level here. But I think that, New York's a big city, and it was an epicenter, and many people died. And I think that the low rates are fantastic. And unfortunately, not only in New York, but across the country, we're seeing that vaccination rate hang around 50%, or, nationwide, fully vaccinated, like, not just under 60%. So I think there's still a hesitancy. And, if we can get more people vaccinated, I think it would be beneficial. Look, it's our best bet, right? Like, thank God we live during a time when we have technology and science technology where we can, get people vaccinated this quickly and get it rolled out. So I think, if we have this chance to get back to normal, which a lot of us were experiencing and unfortunately now retreating back off of, I think it would be wise to get vaccinated. And I think we should find a blend, instead of the polarization of Florida and New York, we should find a blend of, like, some mandate while, some people just being able to have the liberty and make the decision on their own.
Do you think we'll lose more New Yorkers to Florida this time around?
I'm selling it pretty hard. I put my body where my mouth is. I'm here in Florida, so New York is always home. I'm a Brooklyn boy and I love it, but I definitely think that New York is becoming onerous as far as, taxation, and it's tough. It's a tough environment to do business in. And unfortunately, there's definitely, issues with, New York's, the streets of New York have become like Market Street in San Francisco, where anything goes. I don't know if you'd feel safe walking with a child down the street. So I definitely think that there are some pluses to Florida, but New York is always New York. And I think that it'll also have a comeback.
Right. So really quick, Warren, then what is your take on the new administration coming in? We have all new elected officials that are going to be taking over in New York City. Do you think it'll help?
Um, I'm curious to see. And it remains to be seen. I think that there's going to be some AOC influence, which might not help. And some of the new elected officials have good ideas, and maybe they represent certain voices, but I don't know if that is what the city needs right now. And I think with the new administration, with EA, who you've interviewed, Mr. Adams, I think that having his police background, and coming from the communities he comes from, and being a city leader for a long time, I think that he's the best shot that we have at really turning the city back around and getting back to the Bloomberg years.
Yep. Cheers to that. So thank you, Warren Cohen, on Politics NY with Skye Behind the Curtain.